Welcome, everybody. We are getting ready to start our vocal kinesthetics winter intensive. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. So if you don't know, neurology is very taxing to learn about, and as we continue to test different kinds of systems, you're going to want to have snacks handy. You're going to want to make sure that your fuel is up and that you've got water nearby, so that if you absolutely need to take a break, notice how your body is doing and just know your body, take care of your body as we go. Here we go. Here's the Okay, so what I would love to do is just give you a little bit of a background as to how I got into this stuff. And then I'd love to kind of go around and get to know each other, do a little intro, and then we'll jump right in to our goals of the course. And this hour versus next hour, we will have a little brain break, so don't worry about that. So if you don't know me, my name is Kimberly Moller. I've been teaching voice and performing for about 16 years. I counted it up this morning and that was ridiculous to me. Um, I have a master's degree in traditional voice pedagogy and performance and an MFA in musical theater. And I've been studying neuroscience and belting, contemporary singing outside of academia because it wasn't really available at the time. And I have to say, it's getting better, but there are maybe two programs that I can think of that are really focused on contemporary voice pedagogy, which is wild to me. I mean, it's definitely getting stronger, but there is no real like application of neuroscience in this. So when you are getting vocal pedagogy and anatomy and things like that, it really focuses on this little box in the throat, maybe your breathing system too. But this really is going to be starting with the brain, and I'm hoping that you will be as obsessed with this as I am because it is so effective. I got into brain science when I was an opera singer. I was auditioning in Boston, and I was having a career in early music and singing with orchestras and opera companies out there. But all of my students wanted to sing musical theater. So I was like, well, I better learn how to do this at a high level myself. And, I'd always loved musical theater, but I began studying with Mary Saunders Barton, who, if you don't know her, she has this bel canto can belto method. And she's a glorious human and started my sort of speech level singing techniques and things like that with her. And then I booked a show called Xanadu. If you don't know Xanadu, it's the most ridiculous, hilarious camp show ever. And it is, Kira and Clio is primarily on roller skates the entire musical. So I was an opera singer, had not done a lot of that kind of moving in a long time. I figure skated when I was a kid, but that was a while ago. And I was having a lot of trouble with my nervous system and getting back on skates while learning how to practice the skill of belting 9 songs. So I saw the amazing Andrew Byrne, who's a New York City based teacher and the writer of The Singing Athlete. Check out his book if you haven't checked out his book. And he introduced me to the world of neurocentric singing. Um, we did, I think, a drill called a toe pull. So something with my feet, and then an inner ear drill to fix my balance. And the results were incredibly effective. I was able to sustain each of these songs, without really having the muscle memory that I wasn't spending the last 10 years developing, or so, at least more than that. Anyway, so these were crazy effective, and you just sort of have to try these things out and feel what works for your nervous system, and you will be as obsessed as I am, if you aren't already and you haven't followed me on social. Um, okay, great. I would love to just pause for a moment and go around and have a little introduction to each of you so that everybody on the call knows each other, and we can each ask questions and feel free to chat on the on the Mighty Networks. If you haven't joined that, Mighty Networks is going to be our like fun community space where we can ask questions. You should have an invite. If you don't, please let me know. So why don't we start? I'm just gonna go with like the screen that I see here. Let's start with Jillian. Why don't you give us a little intro and a little fun fact or where you are in life?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jillian. I am in the Bronx right now. I grew up out like southeast of Boston in the Fall River, Somerset area, Massachusetts. Um, I got a BFA in music theater from the Hart School, and since then I've been doing a bunch of things. I did a couple tours. I was on ships for about 4.5 years or so. That's where I met my husband, actually. Um, so yeah, I started following Kimberly on TikTok, and I was like, give me this magic. I was obsessed. Every time one of the videos came up, I was like running to my kitchen to try it out. And I was like, this is amazing. So I'm really excited to have more little tricks to just on days where I just don't feel connected, and I feel like my normal warm-ups on doing it, and like it makes me crazy when I'm like, well, I'm doing nay 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 and I still feel like nothing's happening. So why? Um yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I like to crochet.
Yes, crocheting. So cool. I love it.
Um
Very dexterous.
yeah,
I'm excited to be more than TikTok friends.
I know.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jillian.
Thanks.
Next up, let's have Linda Lippy chat with us.
Unmute. Hi. Um, okay, I'll just start with the big imposter syndrome thing I've got because I've done a whole lot of musical theater and had a lot of success, and I'm just waiting for everybody to figure out that I'm not really classically trained. I kind of just plowed my way into whatever role was before me, and I've been incredibly lucky, and I've had some incredible coaches along the way, but I just feel like there's a whole lot more out there that I could really absorb and also pass on. I'm a high school drama teacher as well as an actor, and so right now a lot of my kids, I don't have the kids are like, oh, theater, I want to do theater. They're like, oh my god, why am I in this class? So they're all terrified and anxious and literally like freezing in their person. They don't want to make a decision, they don't want to try anything, like, and so I'm hoping maybe we get some brain science that helps to kind of just like soothe the flight or fight kind of instinct for them and for me too. And I wouldn't mind just strengthening that passaggio, but because it seems like everything we do has to be belted. Although I'd be really happy. I know I saw those eyes cross. Yeah, so I know I can do it, but I just
Oh,
like a
yes,
little.
you can. I think I first met you, or at least I first saw you perform doing Mama Rose.
Was that
Yes,
at Awesome or at Signet?
it was at Signet. Yeah.
Yeah, the 5 years before that was in the little tiny 99 seat house where we got to like just whisper everything's coming up roses. So yeah, and I was going through menopause when you saw that.
Oh my God.
So my
Rock
first
star.
flash was during everything's coming up roses. So
Wow.
yeah, it I'd love a little more ease about the whole thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, that's like fantastic to know about you, and the body is so crazy weird.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to explore the sympathetics, parasympathetics, and really get this imposter syndrome out of town.
I know. It's not usually the first thing I lead with. Hi, I'm waiting for everyone to figure out
But
I'm
it's
so
not
fine.
real. I mean, it's absolutely totally a thing that I relate to, and I think other people on this call relate to it. So I appreciate you saying that and
Yeah,
sharing that with us.
thank you. I'm
Great.
real excited to be here though. So and I just feel like I want to be putty in your hands. So whatever you feel like,
Great.
what I'm ready to jump and
Awesome. Okay, well,
yeah.
we're gonna try get to some things, try some things out today, and you'll be able to practice them during the week.
Yay!
Yay! Awesome. Okay, thanks, Linda. Let's have Miss Caitlin Taylor come on up next.
Hello, hello. I feel like this camera, I feel like I look so sickly and ill. I'm gonna move you in front of the window. Just changed up our little, there we go. Now it just looks like I'm the devil. You know what? We're gonna stay right here. My name is Caitlin. I met Kim when I was doing my undergrad for musical theater at San Diego State. And same thing, very much imposter syndrome. When you said that, I was like, ah, she sees me, ah. But I very much feel the same way. I have a little bit of classical training, and then coming into the theater world, it was such a place of just like discomfort, and I just felt so far out of place. And then meeting Kim, and with her background, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's amazing, she did it, I can do it. And then I've kind of been a parasitic sponge ever since. I'm like, hi Kim, what are you doing, Kim? What's up, Kim? What are you doing, Kim? So I'll never leave her side. And I agree with what you said, Jillian. I was like, there's magic here, and I want to see behind the curtain. I want to see how it works. I just recently started teaching vocal lessons with Kim as my mentor, and so it's been amazing. I mean, trying things out. I work at a gym too, so I'm any chance I get with one of my coworkers, I'm like, let's do a test. I'm like, let's just see something. And so there's so much magic here, and I'm so excited to learn more.
I love it. You're like doing eye drills at the gym. Amazing. I mean, that's I'm the weirdo that does that, so we are the same. Yes, I feel a special kinship because I was sort of starting out with group teaching in the vocal lab at STSU as a graduate student there, and Kaylin was one of my students there, and I was throwing all these weird neuroscience things, bringing in vibrators. And oh yes, singers like vibration. Fight me. Anyway, so I'm really excited that you're on this journey with us, Caitlin, and that you're beginning your journey into teaching. Yay! Awesome. All right, Geraldine, let's bring you up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Geraldine Brault. I just have to say, Linda Livy is a San Diego legend. So it's so fun to have her in here. She's being very modest about everything. So I am also in San Diego. I am a college professor at both Grossmont College and Miracosta College. But Grossmont has a musical theater program, but I teach online. I can nerd out about narrative theory with you any day. But at Miracosta, there's complications with the music department turf wars, and so we're not really allowed to teach musical theater. So, because then the music department wants it, and then we don't have masters in music. It's a whole thing. So I sometimes teach a voice and diction class, which is speaking voice. Sometimes I come in and substitute and try to give them crash courses because we do musicals there. So I'm really excited to learn little fast tips and tricks that I can show them in a condensed amount of time. I tell them all to follow you. So every so often, if you get an influx of people, that's probably me telling students you're
That's
at
amazing. Thank you.
Vocal Kinesthetics. I also was just on the Disney Cruise Line and did some vocal health and safety workshops with the entertainment cruise staff. And so you might have gotten some followers from that too. I'm also a professional musical theater Shakespeare human out here in San Diego. And then another truth about me is I have chronic fatigue syndrome. While not contagious, I still have acute Epstein-Barr, and I'm going on year 11 of mono. So hence the couch. My body said today's the day for a couch. Um, so I also, with that comes a lot of nerve dysregulation and body dysregulation. So I'm really excited to learn the techniques, and learn in a teaching environment is so cool. But then I'm also selfishly hoping to learn some stuff to help my body on the rough days. So that's me.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Geraldine. That was fantastic intro into you. Geraldine is also a Meisner technician. And I believe we met when my husband Cody did the producers at
Yes.
musical theater. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've wanted to just work a little more closely with you and get to know you even more. And last year we got to do ragtime together. Um, Emma Goldman. Emma Goldman. was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Yes, so great. Well, I'm excited to share some things and hopefully put this into a big picture. This is what we're all going to do. We're going to look at our personal histories, our injury history, things like that, and we're going to look at things that maybe can help. And we'll just keep assessing things, and it's all good information, really good information. Thank you, Geraldine. All right, Daniel, you're up.
I'm here. I wish I felt a little better for this, but
Oh, I'm
I'll have
sorry.
my camera on and off.
Okay, are you still
Okay.
dealing with post-COVID or?
Oh no, I think that's a lot better.
Right.
Just could have had a lot more sleep, but
Oh, I'm
we're
sorry.
here. No, we're good. Um, but I'm Daniel, and I'm a voice coach in Los Angeles. I live in West Hollywood. I coach mainly pop and R&B recording artists. Lots of indie artists. I'm also a producer and a vocal producer. So I'm just looking to expand my toolkit when people are behind the mic. And there's also a few beginners that I work with, and I've just been progressively, I think we've all had this experience as teachers where we hit the boundary of what feels like our client's talent with what we're asking them to do. There's often the temptation to be like, well, it's just, well, oh well. But I think with this brain-based stuff, I'm finding, especially with both the beginners and the advanced people, I'm finding like, yes, there's more. There's more that we can do, and rather than just, well,
Yeah,
I guess they just didn't get this cue that I gave them. Anyway,
right.
so I've been really excited in that respect to there's ways recently with these neuro drills that I've been able to get through to make some serious breakthroughs with students. And I feel like I have some of the branches of the tree with the understanding of neurology, and I want to fill it out and then get the trunk and, with all the knowledge. So I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you here, Daniel. I think we met what a couple years ago, a year ago, a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, because I picked up a copy of The Singing Athlete from Andrew Byrne, and then I went on his site and saw that you were on his recommended teachers list.
Yes.
So that's how I ended up finding you.
Well, I'm excited to at some point work in person, but we've done
Yes.
private work online. And you're also a composer, yes?
Yeah, I got my master's in composition for visual media. So I do some of that, but I barely use it. I mean, I do and I don't.
Do a little bit of everything.
I do a little bit of everything.
The chat is like lighting up with how much like variety we have in this in this group. And what I love so much about this kind of work is it applies to everything. The certifications that I got were alongside medical professionals and chiropractors, and I'm like the singing teacher applying it in our studio. So anyway, it's been a really fun adventure to really learn that singing is a sport and training is important. There's sort of this idea on the West Coast, I feel, that like, or maybe it's a San Diego like chill vibe thing, where it doesn't feel like we have a really rigorous training plan. I think LA might be a little different. But I think that is kind of an old way of thinking with teachers who maybe don't think the brain can change. And that is something I definitely want to challenge as we move forward.
Heck yes.
Heck yes. Well, thank you, Danielle. Let me get you unpinned here, and we'll keep.
I think you said something really important. That it's about, I don't think the brain part of it has not really ever been part of my experience as training, that it's always been more of a physical thing. How did you stand? How are you going to breathe? How are you going to support? Where are you going to place things? Where does it feel? But the brain was not necessarily part of that equation. And so I think you've just nailed it right there about like the difference. So.
Absolutely. And it's just going to open you up. But I truly feel that this is the science of hope, because once you start connecting these dots and you start seeing I mean, I named this program vocal kinesthetics because the body is a kinetic chain. And if one link is out of whack, then it affects everything. And it could be something as dumb as a bone in your foot, or something that's just a little bit misaligned, or your vision, something like that. So it's incredible, you know, what we can achieve, and then how your students, you know, can connect to that part of them that feels that they can have a career in this. And it's great as a teacher to also challenge yourself as a pro to be able to do the thing as an athlete and teach it in your lessons. You get more reps. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win. Great. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to throw in the chat here the workbook, the newly designed session 1 workbook. So let me know if you're able to open it. Just want to make sure everybody has it. These are just going to be little reviews from what we're doing in the sort of neuroanatomy session. This is the first hour that we're focused on here. And we'll see how far we get in that. And then I'm going to be sort of judging how much brain science is too much brain science, because we want to be able to apply it. This is functional applied neurology. So the application to me is how I really learned it. Daniel mentioned this fabulous book, The Singing Athlete. I think I mentioned it earlier. It is such a great intro into neurology, but I have really learned it through the application of it, through regular application with mobility coaches, and then a chiropractor who practices Z Health. Like, everybody in my life who I hire to help my body is a Z Health person. And you'll find out, like, it's just an incredible way to be thinking about health and about singing and movement, period. Great, so let's get started. Can everybody, you have the workbook and everything? You see everything in there? Great. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, so we need snacks handy, water nearby, a little bit of space to move if you're gonna move today. It's okay if you don't wanna move today, totally fine. Chill out, watch, test some things. If you get inspired, great. Then we've all got pretty good energy, so I think we're good. Let's move on. All right, so these are our goals in this course. We want to lower threat around the act of singing. We want to facilitate motor learning, and we want to improve reflexive function. Singing is scary, right? If you are growing up and someone tells me that, if someone tells you that you can't throw a baseball very well, we don't take this as personally as we do, you can't sing, or you're out of pitch, you have a bad ear. This is something that we take on, this like social behavior, and this, we hold it very dear and define ourselves by it. So this is something we're constantly trying to break, or I'm constantly trying to break when students come to me, or I get a phone call and someone says, well, I just want to know if my kid has it. Does my kid have it? Is he gonna make it? Is she gonna make it on the Broadway? And I'm like, well, singing is a sport. You have to train. You have to train and figure out what systems aren't working. So I like to watch amazing movement. I think things like, watching sports, watching lifters, watching all kinds of things, and people singing crazy stuff on stage. Freaky Friday was a really fun fest. I think I sat next to you, Linda, at Freaky Friday at La Jolla Playhouse, and I was like, wow, this is constant belting, just one after another, and very athletic. So the reason why I said that is we're trying to facilitate good motor learning. So it's exciting to watch movement, but we want to make sure that this movement is good. The inputs that we give the nervous system are good inputs, and they're not giving us a negative effect. Reflexive. I want to take a second and talk about what this is, because as long as we don't have to skate. If everybody could tap their fingers as fast as humanly possible. If you're really good at it, you can get this about 5 times a second, right? High C is 1,000 times per second. So this is not something you can really control on command. We are relying on reflexes, just like breathing. If we are trying to think about singing, there's going to be constriction. There's going to be other things that get in the way. The goal is to have an input to the brain, feel safe enough to trust your instrument, right? That's why we work. So when you take a drill in, when we do learn a drill, this is how it's going to go. You're going to sing, you're going to do the drill, and then you're going to sing right away, right after the drill. You're not going to chat. You're not going to like let the student go on and on. Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to tell you this story. No, you have to actually sing within the first 10 seconds to make sure that it's an effective measure of the subconscious brain. Okay. So keep any chat, anything that you are ready to express to a minimum until you've actually taken the assessment. Okay. And then I just love this quote here: engage the nervous system. That Z Health says this all the time. We are engaging the nervous system with enough intensity and repetition to create a stable change in function. Reminders. Neuroscience is always changing. I've learned some of these new skills and read some studies from the last year, literally up till the last year, to prepare for this class. And we are training the brain whether we know it or not. So you have to know if this is a good or a bad change. And this is hopefully going to provide you a solid framework to start your journey. I had one other fact in here I was going to tell you, but I can't move it. I can't move this. Here we go. Oh, just a little reminder as well that fMRIs, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, started in the mid-90s. So most of us were alive before this was a thing. And neuroscience has really come a ways in 35 years, but it's still pretty young. So is voice science. All right, what this is not, we are not medical professionals. This is a team approach. So our job is not to diagnose anything. You're a practitioner of functional applied neuroscience. We're not providing a medical service to our students. This is the answer you give when someone says, well, why are you venturing into this health stuff? We do drills and tests, and we fix what we find. Fun fact, most people on average see their doctors, their primary care, 8 minutes every year. 8 minutes. So you see this student potentially daily, or if you're, in high school, or you see them once a week, once a month. That is infinitely more time, FaceTime, than you have with a doctor. So keep that in mind as we keep going through this. This is our agenda for today. We're going to look at what is pain, some neuroanatomy, inputs, outputs, and we'll learn how to take a health and history assessment and figure out exactly what assessments work for your bodies. And then in hour 2, we'll check out the cranial nerves and say hi to the neighbors. All right. Everything you have ever felt or done in your life is due to brain function. At the most basic level, the intricate firing rates and patterns of your brain both determine who you have been and, more importantly, who you will become. All human change represents changes in that individual's nervous system. So all that we are is brain derived. We used to think that children's brains were the only things that could change. Not true. Now we know that adults' brains can change too. There are records of research studies in a book called The Brain That Changes Itself, by Norman Deutsch, where blind people who had an application of a vibrating device, you're going to see why I'm so obsessed with vibration. Blind people were given a vibrating device and they put it on their tongue to just measure the brain waves with a new input into their brains. The blind person could effectively tell the researchers what was in the room and where it was with sound waves. They could see with sound because this was a new input to the brain. The brain is amazing and it adapts to what it's imposed with. So that's called the SAID principle, sensory adaptation to imposed demand. Isn't that wild? All right, you don't need to write all of these down. They are in your workbook, but these are the 10 principles of neuroplasticity. Use it or lose it. You'll probably know that one. If you spoke French in high school and you can't speak French now, that's an example of use it or lose it. Use it and improve it is basically adding novelty. So something new, the brain likes something new, a new input, and it will adapt. Specificity matters. So change it up or practice the circumstances of performance. Has anybody ever told you to practice in your high heels? Daniel?
I performed in heels.
There you go. Okay, he said. Love it. So you have to practice in the circumstances of performance. When you are Elphaba, you have to practice in a narrow stance because you're on a tiny box when you're being lifted way, way up high. So it matters how your body is practicing. Repetition matters. So the complexity of your repetition matters. Memorization, doing it double speed, maybe would be a new kind of repetition, a different kind of sequence. What you basically have to find is joy in repetition as a singer. If you don't have joy and you don't raise your hand and say, yes, I love to practice, then you're not going to do it. And you have to find something about it that you love, or it's not going to change, right? It like kind of boggles my mind when I ask people if they like practicing and they say, no, I hate it. They want to have the great experience without the practice element. That part of that is practice anxiety. That is a thing that exists, but anyway, I digress. Intensity matters. Change requires intensive training. So you have to, I think it's 10,000 reps for the first stage of making it muscle memory or autonomic. The second stage is something like 30,000 reps. So it's cognitive, associative, and autonomic or automatic. That's how I remember it. So I think that automatic or autonomic is 70,000 reps for it to be a changed neural pathway completely and have all the, the regular myelin fibers around it to do it immediately. Time matters. There is a window of plasticity. So if you have surgery or if someone has a stroke, as soon as you are cleared to move, you may have heard of this before, but you have to start that sensory right away. If you have your tonsils out, as soon as the tissues are healed, you want to make sure that you are beginning to train singing again. You're beginning to add more input into the brain to say, hey, this area is safe. This area is okay. I can devote time and energy to move it. Salience matters. So this has to be intense and it also has to be meaningful. If it doesn't mean anything to the student, they're not going to want to do it, just like if they don't want to practice. This could very well, that idea of not wanting to practice or it having no meaning could very well be a vagus nerve issue. So imposter syndrome, things like that are absolutely this connection to your vagus nerve. We will be exploring that, and we may dive a little deeper into it than we are going to do today later in the course, but the vagus is a very, very important where is my place in the world nerve. So it's something that's imperative to plasticity. Age matters, or does it? There's a lot of studies on rats where, change happens and except in older age, but we are not rats. And there have been plenty of studies on humans who do adapt to change. So it doesn't necessarily matter. You know what? No, it doesn't matter, but great. Okay, and then the final couple of things, transference happens. This is the concept of meeting the neighbors. If you have motion sickness, you'd think, oh gosh, that's a gut issue. I feel like I have to barf. But it's you can do an ear drill, and that would be an inner ear balance issue, right? Which way is up? So you might think outside of tinnitus being only a something ringing that you're hearing in the ears. The neighbor next to it is the jaw, so you can be working on the jaw, and that can help tinnitus. If you sing, just like in vocal technique, if you sing coloratura and you are great at being flexible in your classical singing, riffing, you can transfer those skills over to riffing. Yeah, it is a different muscle in a different context, but you're still using these two muscles at the same time, and the skills can transfer. Interference. Okay. Bad stuff can deter learning, good learning habits. If a student goes on and tells a really terrible thing that happened to them, or gets really fixated on something, it is very difficult to get them out of that way of thinking and then to have their brain be plastic. So I would encourage you to politely listen and then make them move as soon as you can. Make them move, because that's going to change that interference, and we're going to change that sort of continual cycle that's happening in their brains. Great. Let's keep going. So here are your rules. Never move into pain. If you have pain, please slow down. If you still have pain, decrease the range of motion. You need to keep a long spine or a long body position if possible, and concentrate, but please keep breathing. You're going to have these new inputs come into your system, and you're going to be thinking really hard about them. So you want to make sure that we're telling the brain this is a good thing, and then get a really good measurement after. So relax as much as possible. Here are some contraindications. That's a specific situation where a drug, a procedure, or a surgery should not be used because it could be harmful. If you have any of these things, these are mostly relative, but when in doubt, obtain a doctor's approval prior to any movement or rehab program. Okay, we've arrived. So what is pain and where does it start? This definition is that basically pain is a signal. It's just a signal to do something different, and it starts in the brain. These are different kinds of pain: nociceptive, inflammatory, neuropathic, and functional. The bold, all caps words I'd like you to repeat to yourself: anxiety is pain. Anxiety is pain in the brain. Okay? So we want to decrease this anxiety, and you can measure this. I'll go through each one of these just really quickly. Nociceptive is the result of actual tissue injury. Inflammatory pain is an abnormal inflammation caused by an inappropriate response to the body's immune system. And then neuropathic is nerve pain, and functional pain is pain without obvious origin, but it can cause pain. Anxiety is pain. Okay, this is like the cutest little cartoon I had drawn for this particular mentorship, so I'm really excited to share it. The concept in neurology that we're exploring now is called the threat bucket. Everything that you've ever experienced is remembered by the brain. It goes into this imaginary bucket that's in the brain. The brain has a threshold of stress that it can handle before it has to regulate itself. No learning happens when the threat bucket is full. So throw in the chat something that's in your threat bucket right now. This could be nutrition, hydration, not enough sleep, social anxiety, relationships, dental work, poor sleep, neck pain. Okay. What else we got? Allergies, stress at school, bills, bills, bills. Yep. Audition FOMO, dehydration, all things that go in your threat bucket. So one day you like stub your toe, or you reach and you turn around to grab something in the car, and suddenly there's an outpouring of pain. And we're like, why did that send me over the edge? Well, your bucket is full. Carpal tunnel. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the worst. Okay, so the idea here is that we take something out of the bucket and other systems can be affected for the better. I just really liked this silly anxiety tub image that I had in my brain. So I had someone draw a cartoon of it, and the last straw is this toaster flying. So I thought she was super cute. So it's the anxiety tub and the threat bucket. That's going to be some of your homework, to explain the threat bucket to a student. So just perking your ears up right there. All right. This is a way to measure the pain or anxiety scale, 1 to 10. Where are you today? If it's difficult, again, to feel what's happening in the body, then that system might be, the thing that we need to be working on. But you can try this as well. 1 to 10. Where are you today with stress, anxiety, pain? The takeaway is pain is a signal to change the input. So we have a different output.
Kimberly, could I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So I'd love for you to elaborate on do not move into pain, and can we move into anxiety?
Yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky because moving into anxiety or not moving into anxiety means canceling the gig, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is we have to change the input to decrease that pain before we move in. Because if you're continually looking for pain or looking for anxiety, or you're moving past that and making it worse, you're teaching the brain that that's what we expect.
I see.
Got it? Okay, we're gonna move past this pretty quick, but sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze. What do I need to do to not die? This is our default system. We are survival-based beings, so your sympathetic system directs blood flow, typically to the abdomen, so in your core, so we can move really quickly if we need to. It's not a bad thing. It just means that the parasympathetics have to down-regulate it. So that's how that works. This is a slide I'm going to skip through, but what you need to know here is the sympathetic system constricts all sphincters, closes your throat, right? Don't write all this stuff down. You can look at this later if you need to. That's really important for singers. We might want to be looking at the sympathetic system if we do feel tightness in the throat. Parasympathetics, on the other hand, stimulate the salivatory gland. So we're going to be looking for that a lot. We're going to be looking for, do I have more saliva in my mouth or less saliva in terms of vagus nerve work and things like that. Okay, inhalation is sympathetic. Exhalation, parasympathetic. We'll go more into that later. These are a bunch of people that look like they're in an excited state, right? Their threat buckets could be very full here, or they could be feeling awesome. These are reflexes. This is called the Moller reflex. And these are the kinds of things we are gonna be exploring, but look at them on your students. See what side they're favoring, see if they can't sing a high note without opening their arms up. You can see, I love Kristen Chenoweth dearly. I've done a little bit of backup singing for her. She's got some vestibular issues. So she is getting closer to the ground because she doesn't know where she is in space. I wanted to just sort of show you exactly what this looks like on students so that we can start to address their sympathetics or their parasympathetics. So is your brain wired for survival or performance? Anybody? What are we wired for?
Survival.
Survival. All right. So we want to have better prediction capabilities and a happier brain. Okay, I thought that was all the neurology. No, you're wrong. We're just going to do a very brief neuroanatomy. This is where things are. This is what they are. Your brain is like broccoli. I promise it won't be painful. It's got a poof and it's got a stem. The stem is where autonomics live. That funny word that I said earlier. So your old lizard brain, it's, you know, very hyper emotional, illogical, it's only interested in survival. And then the poof is the cerebrum or the cortex, and this is all of the good stuff, the sophistication, executive function, memory, movement, cognition, decision making, all of those things live here. If you would like to check out this slide, take a screenshot. This will be just the little areas of the brain will all be in your workbook, so you know where they are: frontal lobe, parietal, occipital, temporal, cerebellum. A quick Google search will give you all that information. But I just would like to have you know kind of where things are generally and what they process, what the information process is. Great, I'm gonna move on for now. If you would like more on that, I'm happy to elaborate. What you really need to know is that information runs from the bottom to top or back to front. I put this silly meme up here because this is the concept of being hangry. If your frontal lobe is not getting fuel, you can't make a damn decision, right? So when you don't know what to order from DoorDash, but you're starving, this is the concept of the brain's general feeding pattern. These are the three jobs of the nervous system. We want to use our sensory receptors to receive input, and then we interpret the meaning. We scramble in the brain, and we have a motor output. We pick up that glass of water, okay? Via this brain, the spinal cord, all of this information goes in via the sensory through to the brain. This is the proprioceptive system. It's made up of brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerves. There's many different types of nerve endings, but it lives in the brain. This is our 3D map of our body in time and space. If you've got a blurry map, your brain's going to be real worried about that, and it's going to restrict your movement. That's the important thing to remember. Okay, so proprioception is your awareness of your limbs and your body positions in space. There are mechanoreceptors, which are sensory receptors that respond to mechanical pressure or distortion. Baroreceptors, that's your blood pressure. Thermoreceptors, skin, it detects heat and cold. Chemoreceptors, which detects changes in blood oxygen and carbon dioxide. Nociceptors are sharp pain, aching or throbbing. And then the difference between proprioception and interoception, Linda, check this slide out, because interoception is what you're talking about when you're talking about imposter syndrome. This is your sense of ownership, your purpose in the world. The difference between I'm warm, I'm sick, I'm hungry, I know who I am. That's the vagus nerve. Then exteroception are all of these things, monitoring the external environment, sight, smell, sound, taste, touch, all those things. Okay, so where do most mechanoreceptors live? Anybody know? If you've taken any of my courses before, you've probably seen this slide. And this is the silliest thing after. In your joints. I'm gonna have us just do a little tiny bit of movement because we're almost at the end of hour one, and it's time to move your body a little. So your joints are gonna tell you where you are in time and space, and you're going to clear this map up by improving your joint mobility. When the brain can't predict accurately, we have all these things. We don't want these things, so we got to know where it is in space. We're going to be doing movement training, and then in the next few classes, we'll look at visual, vestibular, integration. Well, integration is going to be a little bit today. I'm going to jump right ahead to assessment, reassessment, and we're going to move with it. So why do we need to assess? Well, we need immediate feedback, right, of the stimulus, and we need to choose what to do, when to do it, and what not to do. Take an assessment of some sort. This is going to look like a forward bend. Let me just go ahead and stop share. There we go. Forward bend. So we'll bend forward reflexively. Just here I am today. I'm not reaching super far. And then come on up. Do that a couple times. It's a forward bend. You can do rotation of the torso. You can do this with your neutral stance or feet together, but you're going to alligator chomp in front of you. And then we're going to rotate just to where it's comfortable, and then rotate, pause in the middle, and rotate to the other side. Whoa, you see how restricted this side is on me? So notice that about yourself, and we're going to just see if that improves. Other things that you can measure: where your anxiety level is today, where your fatigue is today, 1 to 10 scale. Then if you have any dancers in your periphery, if you are dealing with people who just flop all the way down to the floor, or you are one of these people that just swings all the way, you're going to test balance instead of mobility. Okay, so arms to a T, bring your foot up. If this feels good, then close your eyes. Okay, right side. Okay, you can try the other side as an assessment, see which one's worse, and then you will reassess that. Of course, our main assessment is going to be singing, but I like to test the physical part of it too. If you have any shoulder tightness, this is one that's in your workbook. Rotation, internal rotation, looks kind of a little, I don't know. And da 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 from the producers. So that could be an assessment as well. I'm gonna take a silly vocal assessment. Let it go, let it go. Go ahead and take something yourself. Now we are going to bring the right foot in front of you, and you're gonna tilt your big toe over your little toe. Okay? Let's do that 3 times. We'll do that on the other side. If you'd like a little bit more, you can internally rotate the foot in front of you, and you can do that 3 times. Okay? This one's a little tighter for me. Just observe this as we go up. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the joints, so keep following me through this. Knees are next. If you have any kind of knee issues or pain, I would suggest adding some sensory and rubbing your knees. So we tell the brain, this is what we're moving next, okay? And then we're gonna go in, like you have to pee, and then out, okay? In and out. Keep all your toes on the ground. Awesome, and we'll go out and in 3 times. Next joint up is your hips. Do a little MJ. Open up that hip. Then bend the knees a lot. We're gonna tuck the pelvis under you, and you're gonna bring the right hip up as high as you can to the shoulder. Another side. And we'll just move through that. If you notice any choppy motion as you do this, any that is a blurry map. So we want to move through a smaller range of motion, and we want to keep breathing through this.
Does that work with popping as well?
Absolutely. Well, popping is a pretty natural thing. It does sort of get more synovial fluid into the joint, and that makes it more supple. My joints pop. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing unless it causes pain. Okay. But ankles are usually, if you have students do this, we tend to go through this really fast. You're going to want to play, oopsie pop, and make sure that this is as slow as you can humanly do it and as smooth. And that's way harder than you think. I love to start with the feet when I'm assessing a new student. Okay, let's go around in a circle. We'll internally rotate and we'll gently go around in a circle, kind of scrape the barrel. See if you notice anything different on one side or in the back. We'll go to the other side. Breathe. Okay. And then arms to a T, we're gonna glide the upper body. Only the upper body is invited to the party. Good. Notice if there's more restriction on one side. Then we're going to make a fist and concave around it. So your spine is doing this, and we're squeezing the shoulder blades. Concave, squeeze, concave. Oh my God, it feels so good. Squeeze. We might as well go ahead and do a cat-cow standing. Tuck the pelvis, reach. One more. Oh, okay. Next joint up is going to be your shoulders. So bring your arm out to the side, make a fist, and now you're going to add a figure 8. As big or as small as you like, just make sure there is no pain. It can be as crunchy as you want. You can turn it into an infinity, or you can do it in the back. This is a motion we don't do a lot, but when we reach back in the car, guess what? You need this range. Let's go to the other side. Oh, I can feel this sort of opening up my ribs a little bit. We are focused on the shoulders, but I'm feeling like we maybe need to open the ribs up a little more, so I'm gonna reach up. Oh, and go up here. Sometimes I like to add a little Jane Fonda in this and step in. I'm happy that everybody on this call knows who that is. All right, really open up your intercostals. Then we're gonna do a little toss. And this is focusing on the elbow. Good, go the other direction. Do that for both sides. And for my folks that have carpal tunnel, we're gonna do a little bit of rubby on the wrists. And we'll go up and down, your shoulders and shoulders. These are elbows, not shoulders. They're gonna stay in here. We're gonna go up. So we aren't necessarily conducting like that. I don't know anybody that conducts like that. Breathe. Maybe Keith Lockhart, actually. He's a little bit like this. He's a very short man. FYI. Okay, we'll go side to side. My mobility coach calls this playing piano, which I think is hilarious. That's pretty great. Okay, and then we're gonna start. Okay, brain, you can do this. We're gonna start with pinkies. And one finger is gonna, the next finger is gonna follow, and we'll rotate around. Pinkies. And then thumbs. Come on, brain, you can do it. If you want to get really fancy, oh hey, my toes are trying to get involved. They're not invited to the party. Nope. If you want to get fancy, you could actually put your hand on a surface and you could make a circle with one at a time, one finger. Especially if you have a toe injury. We'll talk more about opposing joints, but it gets way harder as you go. Okay. Oh, this one's way harder. Breathe. But that's a good way to warm up these joints. Okay, let's look right, left, a little dance isolation. And then we'll go lateral tilt the neck. This is a good assessment too, but I like to use it warming up the joint. And we might as well go ear to shoulder, chin to chest. Let it hang there. Ear to shoulder. And up. We'll go the other way. Change the chest. And release. All right, reassess your body. So that could be your forward bend. Much better. And you're touching the floor. This can be your rotation, your torso rotation. Your balance. I'm gonna retest my singing. Mute me if you want. Let it go, let it go. All right. Did anybody not improve? Any reactions in the chat? What do you feel? You're gonna hear me say that a lot. What do you feel? Everybody feeling good? Or are we getting just figuring out what to say? Way farther physically. Good. Looser from Geraldine. Okay, good. Noticed a little difference in one ear. Okay, like a little pop or something? More, oh, you unmute, Linda.
Almost like liquid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm deaf in my left ear, but my right ear felt like it had like a little bit of liquid, and then it kind of maybe balanced out a little bit more. I don't know if that's.
Is this a an burst eardrum situation or?
The deaf one is due to mumps, so it was inner ear, actually middle ear, cochlear burnout.
Okay.
But it was in the good ear, and it was just like almost like a little fluid kind of evening out. I don't know. Don't usually feel that.
Okay, interesting. Okay, we're gonna explore that some more. Remind me of that if I don't remember that later on. Jillian says my rotation was much better. Left balance was also a lot easier. Awesome. Okay, great. So what I'd like to do, some of the movements were a little scary with the wrist. Yeah, okay, Daniel. So you want to make sure that you are going really slow. And with the wrist, you could actually just focus on these kinds of circles. So close your hand and only lead with the wrist. It's kind of takes a lot of focus for me. I'm also struggling with a little bit of carpal tunnel. Ooh, she's kind of poppy. Yeah. But reduce the amount of range in the motion and breathe through it, relax the jaw. Same question, but ankle. You've got arthritis in your ankles, Geraldine. Okay. So you want to, it's the same answer. You want to reduce the amount of motion and try not to invite the other things to the party, because your knee will probably also be helping and your hip may be helping as well. You can try this actually laying on the ground and sort of holding open the chain, as it so to speak, so you're not having to think so much about holding yourself in other areas. But that's basically what I'd say is give it a ton of sensory and challenge the mobility, but not to the point of pain. Caitlin says, with my neck, shoulder not liking me today, tightness in the rest of your body because of that. Afterwards, the rest of your body was not as affected. Yeah, you took some things out of your threat bucket. Your proprioception got clearer, right? Awesome. Okay, we are gonna take a 5-minute brain break. Cool? You can turn your cameras off, you can hang out, grab a snack. We will need those things that I asked you to bring. I'll put them in the chat here in a second, but go take a brain break and come on back. I'll see you at 11:11.
I also loved how many of our cats enjoyed us getting up. I just saw a bunch of my screen had a tail. I see Daniel's had a tail.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'll leave the Labradors out.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little snacky and I'll be right back.
Woo!